Alright guys, it's time for the next EO episode. Today, I'm just going to go through a whole bunch of different ways to solve EO, so I'll go over at the start like my general sort of theory behind what you do for different EO cases. Then I'm going to go through a ton of examples, and I think the easiest way for me to do that is I'm going to take a scramble and then like show you a bunch of different ways to solve EO for the different like angles on that scramble. And then to show you some cool cases, I'm going to show you ways to like modify that scramble. So I'm going to give you the scramble at the beginning, and then later on I'll give you some extra moves to do to that to like set up the cases that I want to show you. So let's do it. Oh, and if you haven't seen my last video about how to recognize EO and you don't know how to recognize EO, go watch that. I'll put a link in the description, or it's just like the last video on this channel if you're watching it soon after it's uploaded. So this means we're moving on now. Alright guys, we've hit a milestone. I'm actually going to be using paper to write down some of the stuff I'm doing, because this I think is a very important thing to do, especially when you're doing EO. Because the thing with EO is there tend to be a ton of different ways to do it, and you want to be able to check those quickly, so I find that it's best to just write down everything you're doing. So once again, scramble's on screen. Alright, so I haven't looked at the scramble yet. We're going to hope it's a good example. Alright, so instantly I see that this blue front EO is drape. Go watch my last video about how to recognize it. Well, we've got the bad edges here and here, so already two on the blue face, and here and here. So the general theory with a 4-move EO is you want to gather, it's the simplest one, you just gather all 4 edges on your front face and then do an F or an F prime. Of course this is our B layer. I'm going to maybe refer to it as such, I don't know, we'll see. So what I do here is U2, so, oh god, where is my paper? U2. My handwriting's going to be bad because of the angle. That brings this one onto the face. You could also, you'll notice, do a U to bring that one onto the face. The reason I'm doing a U2 is that I bring this other edge over here, and then I can just do an R to bring it up onto the other open spot. So once again, we've got two what I would call like open spots that don't have EO. I don't actually think of them that way. At this point it's kind of second nature, but that's a way I'd describe it. So we've got 2 that are filled with bad edges and 2 that aren't. So we're going to do a U2 to fill one of them, and then an R to fill the other. So U2R, and that is definitely the best way to start this EO. That's the only way to do it in 3 moves. And then we've got either B prime or B. And to be honest, B looks better because it gives us that. So there we go. I'd write that down, and honestly, that's such a good EO that I might just start trying to go for my solve right there. But that's not what we're doing today, so I'm going to undo all of that, and that's why I wrote it down so that I can quickly do that. Let's look at other approaches to this. Say we explored that and didn't find anything good. There are a lot of other ways to solve this, so like I said, one way is to do that U, bring it to there, and it's going to be an extra move, but if you do, this needs to get into this slot, and remember you're allowed to do a B2, since this is like our front face, so I'm going to do a B2 to bring that open slot from here to there, and now I can bring it up with an L prime. So that was U, B2, L prime, and then they're all gathered on his face again, so you can do a B, no pairs, or a B prime. Still no pairs, so I'm just going to write down the last one I did. And then I probably wouldn't really look at this because having no pairs isn't great. Okay, so let's undo all that. Other ways to solve this. Let's see. So, interesting thing you can do when you have 2 bad edges on the face like this and 2 good edges, you can make the same number of edges, or bad edges, be the exact same by doing something like a B prime. So that makes our 2 bad edges that were here, makes them good and puts them right here. Takes our 2 good edges that were here and makes them bad and puts them right there. And now you'll see that this one can be brought in with a U. So now you got these 3, and then an L prime. So that was B prime, U, L prime. And then a B or a B prime again. So let's see, that was a B, that's a B prime. Once again, nothing great. And this is the process I would go through when I'm evaluating EOs. Since that first one was so short and it made a pair, I would definitely spend some time looking at that. But then after that, I just go through until I find another good one and write down everything so that I don't waste any moves. Let's see, other ways to solve this. I might not go through all of the ways to solve it, because there are often a lot of different ways. That's all I can immediately think of. Well, actually, okay. So right now I've been gathering everything on this B face, but we can also gather on this front face. So the thing is with these, we only have 1 bad edge on the front face though, so you're guaranteed to take at least 3 moves to put them all on here because you have to fill in 3 spots, right? There's no way to do 2 at once. So the question is, can we do it in 3? And yes, or well, no, can we do it in 3? Have I done any moves yet? What did I do? Yes, you can fill it in with 3, and then of course you'll take 1 extra move to correct it. So this is, when you have 1 on a face, it's at best a 4 move thing when you're talking about 4 edges. In this case, it actually is 4 moves, because I can see that I can bring this edge into here, which will bring this one on top, and then we've got both of them on top, and then kind of like how we started, where they're going to be here. You can bring one into here, which will bring the other to here, and then you can bring it down. So you do that with L2. Once again, writing this down, L2, D2, R, and then F for F prime. Let's see, F doesn't build any extra pairs, F prime doesn't either. So let's just go with F prime, because that looks a little better to me. Just a random tip, I find that it's often better when you have a pair like this, instead of actually solving it to the side it's supposed to go to, I often want to bring it to the opposite side. I just find that it gives you a little more freedom with how you can build the next step. Anyway, so that actually looks really good, and this looks like something I would want to explore, because I've got this and this that both go with that same red-yellow edge, which is not in the best spot, but not in the worst spot either. Anyway, so this looks pretty good. That would be something I would definitely check. That was a bunch of examples of ways you can solve this 4-edge case. Hopefully that's fairly instructive. Like I said, it's the easiest case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to modify it. So I'm just going to write this down as mod 1. We're going to add some moves here to make this into a 2-edge case, which is pretty simple as well, but not quite as simple. So let's add F prime L F to the scramble. So we're going to add that to the end of the scramble. And now, where does this leave us? So we're in a 2 bad edges case. We got one right here, one right here. This is the simplest kind of case. What you're going to do is turn it from 2 bad edges into 4 bad edges, and then to 0 bad edges. So with 2 bad edges, you're going to want to go 2 to 4 to 0. So for 4 bad, we're going to go 4 to 0. And like I said, with all of these things, this is all, or I didn't say this, but this is, this is how you do it no matter which front you're doing. I'm just doing blue front right now, because I'm just going to turn it into every case I need. So we're going 2, 4, 0. How do you turn from 2 to 4? Well, you're going to take 1 bad edge and 3 good edges and turn it into 1 good edge and 3 bad edges. That'll leave you with the other one is untouched, so 3 plus 1 gives you 4. So in this case, we already have a face with 1 bad edge and 3 good, so just do a B prime. Okay, and then you'll notice we got 3 bad, 1 good. Bring the good with the bad, and bring them all into good. So that would be L prime, B prime, or B on that last one. Let's just for good measure see if B is better. B does not really appear to be much better. So we'll stick with it as B prime. So you can sort of think of this as doing an F move, F again in quotations because we're on the back face now, but doing an F move to affect that first bad edge, and then replacing it with the other one, and then bringing it back or bringing it in the other direction. That's actually typically how I would think about it in practice, but what you're actually doing is 2 into 4 into 0. All right, I hope that makes sense. If they're in a more difficult position like this, then you just have to do like a setup move to make it so that you can do that trigger. Like I would do that, and then bring it to there. Yeah. So, yeah, but the basic idea is you're gonna bring 1 down, making it 3 plus 1, bring them all together, and then fix it. All right, it's time to do our second modification. I'm not going to spend much more time on a 2 bad edge case because I think it's pretty simple. So the next case we're going to look at is a 6 bad edge case. And I'm just going to set up the first one I see, which is, we're back to the original scramble here, so I'll put it on screen. And we're going to add LB to it. So this is 6 bad, and there are a couple ways you can do 6 bad. You can do 6 to 4 to 0, or you can do 6 to 2 to 4 to 0. Most of the time you're going to go for this 6, 4, 0. You can also actually do 6 to 8 to 4 to 0. And there are a couple cases. I'm going to show you examples of all three of these. So let's just look at what we have here. If we did that, those LB setup moves to change it into this case, we've got the 3 bad edges here on the U face, these 2 on and our E layer on the left, and 1 here. So the first thing, if we're doing this 6, 4, 0, well, how do you go from 6 to 4? You're going to subtract 2, basically, which is also the same as subtracting 3 and adding 1, right? Minus 3 plus 1 gives you minus 2. So if you want to get from 6 to 4, you need to have 3 bad edges plus a good edge and do a move to change them. So in this case, I would do, got B prime. That makes it into a 4 bad edge case, and they're all here. So then we need to gather them all on a face again. Once we have 2 on the back face here, which is the front, but whatever. So I do a D2, and there are a few ways you can do this. I'm just going to show you one example. D2, U prime, R prime, and then F or F prime. I'll just go with F prime because that's what I did. So, yeah, so there's one example of how you could solve that. Did I do that right? That looks about right. Okay. So let's go for another example. How would you do this if you wanted to go 6 into 2 into 4? Now this isn't actually what I would do for this case, so let's add on some more setup moves. So instead of just LB, we're going to go with L, B, U. So once again, we're pretending like we're not actually doing those moves, and this is just like what the scramble has given us. Because this is an example of a case where, or let's see, LBUR. This is a case where it would actually kind of be worth doing it like this instead of the other way. So in this case, we already have 4 bad edges on one face, so we're going for 6, 2, 4. So it's really easy to just do a B prime to turn those into all good edges. Where are our other 2? Our others are over here. So we do that B prime, leaves these 2, and then they're in that sort of like trigger case like we had for 2 bad. So we can just do F prime, U prime, F. I think I said F prime, but I meant F. F, U prime, F. So there's a way that you can do it with 6, 2, 4, 0 in 4 moves. So that's pretty good. I didn't really talk about the 4 step, but you turn that 2 into 4, then bring it in, then do that last F to fix the 4. So that's an example of that. I'm going to go ahead and reset to a clean, or to our original scramble. All right, so this is a case. I've got the moves written down right here. Kind of a long setup for this because I just did the first thing I saw. But this is a rare case where you can actually go 6, 8, 4 and do that efficiently. So how do you do it? You've got the 3 bad edges here, the 2 more bad edges here, and then 1 down here in the bottom. Now this is the sort of case that you can do if this one's in the bottom or the top. Doesn't matter which for that. And then you can often recognize this if you have these 2 sort of like vertical to each other. I don't know if that's a term that means anything, but like that, they're above each other. And then they're also sort of parallel to these ones, so you can turn those two on the upper left and lower left. You can turn those 2 without affecting the 3 on this face or that one in the back. So how do you go, and I haven't gone over 8 yet, but 8's really simple. You just do it as 4 and 4. So how do we go from 6 to 8? Well, you need to add 2, right? Or in other words, add 3, subtract 1. You've got this 1 on the back face. So let's do an F prime. Okay, so we've got F prime. Now what? We've got 3 bad here, 3 bad here, 2 bad here. And the cool thing about this is you can bring those 2 onto the front and back face with a single move and make it so that your front and back face both have 4 on them at the same time. So that'd be F prime L, and then B F. So once again, first we want to turn it 6 into 8. So 6 into 8, that's just doing a move on the face that only has 1 bad edge to make it so that the other 3 are sort of, so you know how on this face we have these 3 that are parallel to those 2, as I said earlier? We want to make it so that this back face is the same way. So we're first going to do a move. Now that those two are over here, we want these three good edges to be bad and parallel to them. So now they're over here, parallel. And now that it's sort of parallel on both sides, one move makes it so you got 4 on front, 4 on back, and then just 2 moves to fix that EO. So there you go. Those are your 3 examples. We've got this right here for 640, simplest way. Then we've got 6240. Now we've got 6840. All right, moving on to 8. All right, I think 8 bad edges is pretty simple for the most part. Most common way would be 840. That looks like it add a 7 in there. That's supposed to be an arrow. So 840 is the most common way. I've got a simple setup here, U2F, and this is a super simple example because it's a super simple case. 4 bad edges on one face. Let's do a move to correct those. So we just did an F. And then we want to gather the others on one side. We've got one here, 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 and here. Bring that one up to the back face and do a U or B prime. So that would be RB prime. Interestingly, since this is just all setups for the first thing, this is a 5-move way to solve our original 4-edge case. Anyway, so that's super simple. That one's self-explanatory. There might also be a way that you can do like 8640, but I'm having trouble thinking of an example of a case where that's actually useful, so I'm not going to cover it. And if you ever see a case that is useful for that, let me know. All right, so next here I've got a way to set up to a 10 bad edge case, and this is actually surprisingly simple. So the way you want to do it is 10 bad edges to some other number by doing a Y move, because in fewest moves, guess what? You shouldn't just don't do 10 bad edges, okay? I mean, if you want to like nis in between, then you can do it, and that can be actually pretty cool. But that's not what this video is about. So if you just want to do normal like linear EO, don't do 10 bad edges or 12 bad edges. They suck. Just if you get a case that is 10 or 12 bad edges on all faces, give up. Like just DNF the attempt immediately. I'm kidding, but it's a pretty horrible case. So I'm not even going to show you it. For like ZZ, you can do some cool stuff, and 10 bad edges can actually be pretty finger tricky a lot of the time. Like what would I do for this? Like it's not that bad. Like I just did the EO real quick, but it was 6 moves. I didn't even do the EO, I misrecognized. There we go. But yeah, so just look at all that other stuff. The most important thing to know here is how to do 4 and 2. Once you know how to do those, you can figure out the rest of this stuff by kind of breaking it down from there, except for maybe the 684 case. That's a pretty cool case to know how to do. But yeah, hopefully these examples have kind of helped. Next episode, or at least the next one I do about EO, is going to be kind of about my EO theory and how I actually get a good solve out of an EO start. So this is just how to do EO. Just by doing EO, it's not going to give you a good solve. However, this stuff I kind of talked about at the start, where you find different EOs and evaluate them, that's more of what I'm going to talk about in the next episode. But we're not doing that now, so thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, like maybe a specific case you're really interested in, leave them in the comments and I can address those later. This is the sort of thing that I think just seeing more examples of is going to be really helpful. So yeah, feel free to, if you have a particular case that you're struggling with finding a good solution for, leave it in the comments. There are also cases where there just isn't a good solution, and that's, sometimes you got to deal with that. But yeah, I'll do what I can to help. I hope this was helpful. Let me know.